Welcome to this module on formulas and functions. In this session, you will learn how to use Excel formulas to sum up values. You will practice calculating percentages, and you will learn a few more Excel tricks. Let us introduce you to a new dataset. It's aggregated, summarized data, and shows the number of convicted persons committed to prison from 2012 to 2021. It is broken down by age and sex of the person. Each row represents the number of convicts in a given year by their gender. The variables are year, where when the people were convicted, their sex, and their age category, which could be under 16. So there's between 16 to 17, 18 to 20, 21 to 25, 26 to 50, and those aged over 50. So, for example, in 2012, there are 184 male convicts who are aged under 60. So, what questions could this data answer? Number one, how many people have been convicted to prison in the last 10 years? Two, how many people have been convicted in each age group? Three, which year had the highest and lowest number of people convicted? Four, what was the total number of convictions each year? And lastly, how did that change? We're going to look at formulas and how formulas work. Formulas can do a wide array of operations, including math calculations and using built-in Excel functions. You type a formula either in a blank column to the right of your data or in a blank row below your data, and you refer to the cell addresses instead of the actual values. A simple formula would be adding the value of two cells together. Formulas always start with an equal sign. Here, we are adding the value of cell A1, which is 10, and the value of B1, which is 3. Pressing enter, we get the result, which is the total, and it is 13. Functions. Functions are just built-in formulas. Excel has many of these functions useful for performing math calculations and working with dates and text. For example, to sum up the first 10 values in a column A, from A1 through to A10, you put equals sum in brackets A1 to A10. So now let's try it. Let's find out the total number of convicts who are aged over 50. To do this, we need to sum up the numbers from cell H4 all through H23. Let's find out the total number of convicts who are aged over 50. You go to the bottom of column H and then enter this formula in cell H24. Equal sum in bracket H4 to H23. The equal sign is necessary for all functions. The colon means all the numbers from cell H2 to cell H23. As you can see on screen, we're doing the sum function for cell H4 to H23. And this eventually gives us a total of 58,745 for those who are over 50. Let's see the total of male convicts in 2012. For this, we need to calculate across the row. In this case, we select it from row 4, where we go from under 16 to over 50, but for the year 2012 and for the males only. We go to the end of row 4 for the year 2012 males and then enter the formula in cell I4, which is equal sign sum, and then in the columns C4 to H4, and we hit enter. Once we've input the function, which is for the sum from row C4 to H4, we find the total to be 57,516. You can use the AutoSum button to also do the same. In this case, again, you go to 2012 male, select from row 4, and then use the AutoSum function, and it will still give you the same total, which is 57,516. Next, let's take a look at the number of convicted persons by year. This is summarized on the convicted persons by year sheet of the Excel workbook. Let's calculate the total number of convicts by year using the AutoSum button we just learned. On this sheet, we'll create a new column for the total. Then select row 4 and use the AutoSum function, and this will give us a total of 63,691. To copy the calculation to the other rows, just click the bottom right of the calculated cell and drag it down along the column. This will give us the grand total, the total number of convicts across the years, sexes, and age groups. From the total that is 63,691, on the bottom right, we'll drag it down and finally get our total for all the convict cases, which comes to 757,689. Now let's look at some other useful Excel functions. We have average, which calculates the mean of a column or row of numbers. We also have the median, that finds the middle value of a column or row of numbers. We use median instead of average if you have big outliers, either a few values that are really low or really high compared to the majority of other values. We also have the count function that tells you how many items there are in a column or row. We have the max, which tells you the largest value in a column or row, and the mean, to mean minimum, which tells you the smallest value in a column or row. Percentages. We've been using row numbers so far. It's easier to understand differences if we used percentages instead. For example, what percentage of all convicts was committed in each year? To do this, we'll first calculate the what percent of total convicts were convicted in 2012. In this case, we'll create a column for percentages. Then we'll take a total of one row, in this case for 2012, and then divide it by the total number for the total convicts. This will give us a percentage of 8.4%. Then we just take the first calculation and clicking on the bottom right corner of the cell, we drag it all the way down to the bottom row to get the others. We click on the percentage of row 4 and drag it down to get all the remaining others percentages. Note that we typed the total we were dividing by the 757,689 as a number, not just as a cell reference like H4. This was so that Excel keeps that number unchanged as we drag the calculation down to be applied to each row. Around 8% of all convicts between 2012 and 2021 were convicted in 2012, more than 14% of them in 2014, only around 4% in 2020. Why could that be? Finally, let's look at how the percentage of convicts changed year to year. To get the percentage change, we take the new value, which is for 2013, and subtract from it the old value for 2012, divide it by old value, and finally add the percentage sign to get it as a percentage. We get the percentage change for every year by dragging down the obtained value. Once we've dragged it down to see all values, we see a big drop from 2019 to 2020. What happened in 2020? It was the year when COVID started, which had an effect on how courts operated. For example, at this point, the best you can do as a journalist is to ask one or more experts to offer an explanation for the numbers. So what's next? Browse through a few resources that can help you expand and deepen your Excel and analysis knowledge. Thanks for engaging in this module, and see you in the next one.